Hello everybody, my name's TankRunner, and welcome to another episode of Drawing Roulettes and World Building. If you've been a viewer of mine for a while, you may know that I'm a huge fan of D&D. I've been playing some version of the game for most of my life, either as a player or a DM. For those of you who might not know much about D&D, a DM is sort of like the ref of the game. They decide how the world reacts to you and the other players. Some DMs sprinkle their original ideas onto pre-made adventures and modules. Others create a whole world and plot from scratch, and some force all of their players to keep their hands and feet inside the ride at all times.
Hey, don't touch that! You're gonna knock over my set!
Get back in the cart, sit there quietly, and watch me as I metaphorically jerk myself off in front of all of you for the next 8 hours.
As a DM myself, I've slowly pieced together a massive world over the years that's been filled with all kinds of amazing and dangerous things. The more campaigns that take place in my world, the more in-depth and real it feels. This is where my interest in world building stems from. Without D&D, this channel might not exist. So I think it's about time that I talk more about it and take on one of the biggest pieces of world building you can cover. Today, we're going to create a pantheon for our custom D&D world. Before I jump into this week's prompt, I want to present all of you with my world's creation story. But if you're not interested in the lore and you just want to skip to the part where you get to see all of the artwork, here's a time code for that. All right, everyone else, here's a history lesson in a world that doesn't exist. Get ready to forget your time in the 5th grade because your brain is going to have to make some room. Back before the Age of the Gods, there existed beings known as primordial titans, otherworldly beings that created the world of Ethos. The worship or study of titans is considered extremely taboo, due to the negative effects it can have on those foolish or desperate enough to do so. But as a means to better understand their own history, scholars have agreed to give individual titles to the primordials. The most important of these titans is the All-Seeing Mother, who created the material plane. This event brought forth the next primordial, the ever-dying, the first sun, which, depending on who you ask, is either the creator of Ethos or Ethos itself. As the realm began to take shape, fire was born, and with it, another titan, the devouring ember, father of flame, first of the dragons. The existence of this flame cast light and shadow on Ethos for the first time, the radiant keeper and the eternal dread, bringer of death. The battle between these two primordials haunt the realm to this day. Life was first brought to Ethos by the Radiant Keeper in the form of the Ancient Ones, lesser titans to the primordials. It's believed by some that these beings were not created intentionally, because soon after doing so, the Radiant Keeper created the Elder Gods, beings that possessed the power to slay titans and to control aspects of time, matter, and existence. A battle ensued between these divine beings and the Ancient Ones for eons. Some of the Elder Gods were overwhelmed by the power of the Ancient Ones, losing themselves to the eternal dread. These gods became hybrids, finding themselves lost between the divine and the eldritch. These tainted gods were hereby referred to as the Eldritch Gods. Many on both sides of the war were lost, but eventually the Elder Gods were victorious. The Ancient Ones were spread thin and forced to break themselves apart into lesser titans, hiding until they can regain their original power. New life began to appear on Ethos due to the presence of the eternal dread. These beings were made of pure darkness, knowing nothing but fear, anger, hatred, and sadness. Feeling for these creatures, the Radiant Keeper divided its essence among them, allowing the light to live on through tiny glimmers in each of them. Since these beings held only a sliver of the Radiant Keeper's power, they are significantly weaker than the gods, but are saved from eternal torment. These beings will later be known as mortals. The sacrifice of the Radiant Keeper marks the beginning of the first era, the Age of Fire. No one knows exactly what happened during the 5,000 years of the first era, but in this time, the few remaining Elder Gods began birthing and creating new gods. Many of these beings watched on as the mortals started to die off from the cold, dark, and empty world that was left behind by the Radiant Keeper. The gods didn't realize the potential of the mortals until they were able to steal fire from the first of the dragons, gaining the attention of the gods and solidifying their survival in the realm. Thousands of years have passed since then, and a lot of things on Ethos have changed, but this is all you need to know for now. In my world, I allow the use of other pantheons and lesser gods that players may create for their specific characters, but as of the most recent campaign in the timeline, there are 10 deities that are a part of my custom pantheon. We covered 8 of them in the creation story, 4 elder gods and 4 eldritch gods. These are the deities that I want to work on today, because they've been around since the beginning. These guys have been given different titles and symbols to represent them by different groups of people around the world, but I've never taken the time to fully flesh out what they actually look like. I had to decide which ones to tackle first, so I've selected a few from this list that have piqued the most interest from you guys. The Sovereign of Cinder, Goddess of the Sun. The Sovereign of Cinder is affiliated with passion, love, life, purity, the new moon, and the element of fire. The new moon signifies new beginnings, a clean slate, taking what has been destroyed and stoking it with cleansing fire. The Sovereign is a passionate deity that supports most aspects of life and love. Through her sunlight, all life may flourish or be extinguished. The Savage Warden, God of Wrath, War, and Destruction. The Savage Warden is affiliated with Rage, Combat, Victory, Strength, the Waxing Crescent, and the element of Fire. The Warden is positioned in this cycle between the Sovereign and the Endless. Because of this placement, he holds a fiery power stronger than the other Elder Gods, but this also makes it far less controllable. Gods have tried to point his strength in a specific direction in the past, but rarely has that worked out in their favor. To the Warden, war is a certainty, so it's best to be the victor. The Endless Valor, God of Protection, Justice, and Courage. The Endless Valor is affiliated with honor, action, courage, safety, the third phase of the moon, and the element of wind. This phase is the exact opposite of that of the Hound of Thorns. Where the Hound sees fit to be passive unless otherwise provoked, the Endless Valor stands for nothing but action. If harm is done, and you had the power to stop it, you are part of the problem. The Withering Lady, Goddess of Decay. The Withering Lady is affiliated with death, entropy, calmness, grace, the waning crescent, and the element of earth. She is the last deity in the cycle, the inevitable end to bring forth a new beginning. Deterioration is a venom that affects all living things, but this is to be celebrated in the eyes of the lady. All things must come to an end, and when they do, no one perishes alone. The lady will graciously be there to see you through the pain, so don't worry. Soon, you will feel nothing but her cold embrace. So how do you guys think they turned out? I honestly think that these are some of the best drawings I've done for the channel so far. As I said before, I want to continue growing this pantheon, so leave a comment below if you have any ideas for more deities to add. Make sure to include what they rule over and how they relate to the pre-existing list of gods. Thanks again for being patient while waiting for my videos to come out. I try to release them as quickly as I can without hindering the quality of the artwork. For those of you wondering, my next upload will be the third installment of my Pokemon series, where we create our own Pokemon region. If you haven't already, please like, share, and subscribe. It really helps me out. If you want to take a crack at drawing any of the prompts I've done, or you want to send me some artwork to help flesh out some of my worlds, please send them to me over on my Twitter. I love to see what you guys make. But until then, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.